What's up, guys? It's your boy LGM. Have you guys ever gone to mix your group vocals? You pop on your headphones, you spend hours moving around the faders, putting in those effects, making sure that there's auto-tune, but we all know no one uses auto-tune, and then you are left crying, thinking to yourself, this was a waste of time. Let's see if we can fix that today. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and pop right into the DAW. Right now I got a song that I've been working on, and we're gonna focus on this last half. This song has a bunch of woes to it. It only comes in the last portion of the song, and I wanted to try and just show you guys exactly how I go about recording and mixing those to where they get to sit in the mix perfectly and they sound unified the way that they should. So to begin with, if your recording sucks, this is going to be next to impossible, so you need to keep that in mind. But if you've recorded good takes, the easiest thing that you can do is decide on one main audio file. In this case, it's going to be this one. It was actually muted right now because I wanted to just show the group itself instead of the main vocal. But what I did for each recording is I would look at how that was recorded. We'll turn that off for a second. And as you can see, right there where that line is, right at 141, we try and make sure that that is perfect or next to perfect for each one. Most of these takes were actually really good takes, and I didn't have to go about like moving them, but when I would duplicate them, there was a little bit more movement here. And so that was the biggest thing for me, at least on this one. This is actually my song, and I think that's made it a lot easier. Is when you are producing and mixing, it can be extremely difficult to do this, but since I knew the song, I was so passionate about the song, I was very in time because I knew exactly where I wanted it. As well as woes can be very easy to do. So I'm just gonna play it for you real quick, show you guys exactly what it sounds like finished, and then we will start talking about how I made each track itself and what I did to process it so that you guys can have a better idea what to do for your own songs with group vocals in there. Gotta change my buffer size because my computer ain't able to handle all this. You guys got to hear a little bit of the finished product. This does happen twice. There's a little bit of variation on the second one, but I'm gonna dive into that a little bit later. So to begin with, the way that I recorded this, at least this time around, is I had a main vocal. All these tracks are running mono, but this main vocal is straight down the middle. It is going towards you. This is what you're gonna hear initially. Whoa. So I have some Metatune running on that, I think if I remember right, it's two fairly aggressive compressors, but they're both running slow, so we can let a lot of those transients through. And then I have some Pro Q3 just to kind of try and carve out a little bit more space for that to sit better in the mix, and then a de-esser, and that is actually routed to my main vocal. So the way that this is laid out is really complicated to try and describe each time, but I have a video about how I designed my template, at least for 2022. I might change it around every year. I try and have a look to see if I can increase my workflow and productivity with better ease, but this is what I've been using right now. And as you can see on the M Vox, that's the main Vox, that's going to be the single vocal. I have all of these, which is bus 10 through 16, which is actually these ones, bus 10 through 16 right here. So that's going to be short reverb, long reverb, short delay, long delay, octave low, octave high, and then a doubler if I choose to add it, which in this case I actually didn't, so I'm going to go ahead and mute that. But I have some Pro Q3 running through that as well, and I have a high boost right here. So this helps to add some uniformity and use less CPU as I am going through mixing my tracks. It's something I really suggest is that you guys get vocal buses, and I have a de-esser here as well to help with that on that main vocal. But I also have a Harmony Vox and U Vox. My U Vox bus is really going to be for things like woes or really weird vocal effects that I've been using on different songs. In this case, it is for my vocal woes. This is more of a top-down mixing approach, and it's something to keep in mind, but it's definitely not like an end-all be-all. It's not what I do every single time. I route it to the same bus every time, but I don't process it all the same way, and it's something that you need to take into consideration. When I mix this way, if you don't have a layout with this kind of template, then you might need to make sure that you have either a bus in a similar way or know that you might have to add double the amount of plugins like I've done. We're going to start from our VOCALS. Now that we are moving on to the actual group vocals, we can recognize right here that all of these, so from that right there, that vocal, all the way down to here, tracks 14 through 34 are all going to be our group vocal woes. Those are all going to this VOCALS bus, and I started off with some compression, fairly slow, not the most aggressive compression, 3 to 5 dB, up to 5, maybe 6 on that loudest one. So on that loudest peak, we're getting about 6 dB of compression. Then I got a Pro Q3 running through, cutting off a lot of the low end, and then I boosted that 4258 kilohertz range. I know that this is fairly extreme. It's not what I expected from this, but I wanted it to really have a lot of mid-high boost in there and just not crisp. I didn't want too much sibilance, but that's still a decent vocal range for myself that I really like to amplify. So I did that with the crowd vocals or the group vocals. And then I added some room reverb. With the output, I boosted it to 100 dry signal, which is before the reverb, and then the 54% on the wet. This just makes it easy, so I'm not trying to think about how wet I want that room reverb to actually be coming through, but as I was able to use it sparingly. I think the only thing I really changed was that room size to 106. Yeah, so now we have the room essentially. So this is the main way that all of those group vocals were compressed all together. It brings some uniformity to all of those group vocals, and it allows it to sit better in the mix, because if I feel like it's too loud, I can automate this track, or I can just turn it down completely, and it saves me so much time. I kind of reviewed over it earlier, but if you glossed over it, missed out, got bored, or maybe I'm boring, always remember that the first thing that you absolutely have to do is pick a track and then try and have the rest of your vocals be aligned with that. Since it was myself recording, you can see that I was able to very easily just line that up and record in different ways. It was super clean, it was super nice, it was just able to sit easily. It fit where it was supposed to. Now comes into the little bit more complicated part. This is where, to me, it seems to be less clinical, and instead it's more artistic, and this is where you guys can really have the most freedom to do what you want and just go berserk. So you can see that I'll have middle, left, right, left, middle, right, and you might be thinking like, so Luke, what is your thought process through this? So normally what I have going is, I think on this one, it's just another main track. Yeah, so this is the main track, so it's going straight down the middle. So this is going to be our first set of harmonies that are supposed to add on to this. So let's listen to those real fast. The only thing I really did on those was hard tune one of them, but not the other. I guess I forgot. But this is the released version. This is exactly what I've left on. So I'm not going to try and come back and like add some more things. So this is what I added to it for that crowd vocal. I hard tuned the left one. For some reason, I either forgot or just lost track of and didn't add processing on this right one. And then we have this set, which is not panned as far. I think it's another 2 of just that main vocal. There we go. And as you can see here, I didn't add any processing to these either. So really, I think my idea was going to be hard left, hard right, hard tuned, and then mid left and mid right, not. But that adds a little bit more. 1, it's going to add a crowd effect. 2, it's going to add some more width, and it's going to boost every single frequency that you are really enjoying. Also, to keep in mind, regardless of what this main vocal is processed as, I can throw on a separate amount of harmony or delay or anything on this crowd vocal, which can really bring a lot more life to this track. So we're going to go to the next set, and I'm going to leave those top few muted just so we can focus on these. And right here, you can see I have a left, middle, and right. So let's listen to those real fast. So I have a higher harmony, and I just hard tune those. If I remember right, I threw it on a group of some kind. So I have a 7.6 speed, 85.7 for the amount, and then I have note stabilizer on medium, G major as the key. So you can try and copy that or replicate that. On down the list, we're gonna go with our next set. And I think I did the same thing of a left, middle, and right within a harder tuned meta-tune plugin on each one of those. It's a slightly slower speed, and there's no note stabilizer on there. It was just reacting better at the time. And one other thing you can hear, if you listen really closely, there is some mouth noise. I did not take that out. I'm a lazy producer. I didn't think it was affecting the sound of the song. Once everything is not soloed out, I couldn't hear it. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I see some people who say like, you absolutely have to remove the breathing, you have to remove the mouth noise, and some people who say don't worry about it. I tend to lie more on the approach of, if you really can't hear it once the song's going, don't really worry about it. But if it annoys you and it makes the track better to you to not hear it, take it out. It's your song, man. Alright, so the next thing we did after that was add some more. So I'm gonna just solo these out because as we get further down this stack, I start to do weird things to it. So I think this was more of like a demo vox, so just like something I initially recorded, and instead I just threw on a lot of metatune to try and make that another hard auto-tuned vocal. It is very quiet in relation to the main one, so it's something to keep in mind. Then we have an octave lower, which I threw metatune on first, and then little alter boy to help modify that sound. And I don't think I actually tuned it all the way down with the formant. Let's see what pops up. Oh, I did. So it just has a weirder sound to it, but it's something I chose to do. Then we have a medium left and right. And I have a lot of echo and reverb. So the reason that I would add those, even though all of my group vocals in this song are on that same ooh bus, ooh vocal bus that have some reverb in it, sometimes it's really good to throw this in the background with just a like dripping and echo and reverb and just basically destroyed, but it can add a lot more to the fullness of the vocals because this is not your main set. This is not your main duo singing throughout this. Then we have octave low left and octave low right. It's not panned very hard. You normally want to stay in mono with your low vocals, so keep that in mind. When you go to break down these group vocals, you might not notice that like at least for me, I never thought that I would start getting so crazy with it until I started really getting interested in making quality group vocals, crowd vocals. Do not be afraid to make weird sounding individual tracks and see that if they might fit in that and fill out that group vocal, just to be something that's pleasing. Then I have something super squashed with some chorus, and I don't think I tuned that actually. So I left it untuned, which means it's not going to be great, but it's quiet. Then I have an octave up right here, which I changed the formant on for sure. So I did a whole octave up, but I changed the formant to be kind of down, so it just adds this really unique sound. You always know that if you are singing with a group of people, you can almost guarantee that there's some people who are singing an octave high and it sounds nasally and weird. You know people who are singing way too low and they just sound gravelly and rough and it's out of tune, and that's what these tracks are supposed to be. Is even though they're kind of hard tuned, it adds this weird element of imperfection, which I desire. So that's why I do what I do. We also got these two tracks. Both are processed with an octave up with a negative formant and then some echo and reverb. So I made sure these are dripping. They're in the high end. So we'll hear those. I don't think that actually sounds good at all, but then we have this track right here with some little alter boy, which is the last one I used, which was just a formant shift to kind of have a perception of a harmony while not really accomplishing that. And then that's not tuned either, and that's super quiet. So now we are done soloing out each of those. I'm gonna go ahead and do the main vocal bus and the ooh vocal bus so you can hear those crowds, the crowd and the main vocal together. And you can notice that the crowd was louder than my main vocal until I was automating that last note. I will praise and honor you. Yes, Lord, in everything and all and then it gets a little louder. My identity, I found it too. Everything is in your hands. I worship you. I know I am. That was a cool thing that I was able to do on that. So that is how I go about mixing some crowd vocals specifically, and also this does give you a little bit of the crowd vocal in relation to your main vocal. So that is how I go about mixing group vocals, especially in relation to your main vocal. What would you guys do differently? Do you have any suggestions for me or the people down below? Feel free to leave them in the comments. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, gripes, complaints, please leave them down below. If this video brought you value, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, toodle-oodle, my dudes.